All right, rock and roll. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for joining us for this month's Startup Minot Business Showcase and Networking event. Of course, our goal here is to invigorate, encourage, and entice the entrepreneurs of our community by helping them share their stories and also by hoping to open up their eyes to the access that we offer to the different programs, de-siloing all the community efforts that we have, the agencies, the resources, the referrals, of course, that can help get your business started. We have lots of those here in Minot, and part of what we do here at Startup Minot is to send you in that direction for your own business. As stewards of this community-owned asset, we want to become an entrepreneur-run community effort that meets the needs of all those who have an idea. And really this is what this is about. It's about encouraging ideas, it's hearing ideas, how they came to life, and sometimes what's next. We hold these events every month. It's the second Thursday of every month, so be a friend, tell a friend. It's great to see so many faces in the crowd here today. Your goal might be to meet someone new, to collaborate with somebody, to develop a new partnership, or to test your own assumptions about business and what comes next in your own endeavors. We have a lot of partners that make this happen. We really appreciate them. The North Dakota Small Business Development Centers, Service Basin Planning Council, Credence Energy Services, the Minot Area Chamber EDC, Dakota Business Lending, and many from the private sector, and our sponsors. We could not do this without sponsors who want to see business owners and entrepreneurs succeed in our community, which is why they're supporting Startup Minot. So a big shout out to and thanks to First Western Bank and Trust as our presenting sponsor, Minot Area Chamber EDC, North Dakota Small Business Development Centers, Bank of North Dakota Brevera, Town and Country Credit Union, First International Bank and Trust, Cornerstone Bank, Credence Energy Services, People State Bank, and Dakota Business Lending. It's great to have banks supporting an entrepreneur event because eventually, if you're doing things well, you just might want to talk to a bank at some point, and that's a good sign. So we're going to chat today. Very excited. Our guest is Meg Wold with Meg-A-Latte. Let's give a very warm Startup Minot welcome to Meg.
Do you want me to come up?
Yeah, absolutely. You get to come up here while I read your fabulous intro. And Meg Wold was Wold, right?
Wold, yeah.
Wold. I mostly got it. Meg Wold was born and raised in Williston and went to college in Fargo. While attending college, she managed a coffee shop, which is where her love for the industry began. She graduated from NDSU in 2007 with a double major in public relations and advertising and fashion marketing. After marrying her high school sweetheart, Eddie Wold, they moved back home to Williston in 2008. Meg worked at Halliburton for a few years as a buyer. Once they had their first child, Meg had a desire to be her own boss and run her own business. When the initial idea for Meg-A-Latte coffee was born, Meg collaborated with her husband on the concept. She was the coffee connoisseur, while Eddie assisted with the interior design of the shop. Eddie is an airbrushed artist, and all Meg-A-Latte's walls are filled with his art. The original shop opened in Williston in February 2012. Meg-A-Latte's second location opened in 2014. The third store, the first with a drive-through, opened in 2016. After relocating their original store to accommodate market and menu changes, the fourth location happened in Watford City. After that came Minot in 2023, then Fargo, Bismarck, and finally Grand Forks just last week for a total of 8 locations. Man, that's awesome. Meg enjoys managing the business and building relationship with her baristas and customers. She has a strong mission to help the community in any way she can through her business. Meg and Eddie have 4 children. Keeping them busy is very busy. Keeping them both very busy, excuse me.
Yeah.
Meg has big goals and aspirations for Meg-A-Latte. She hopes to continue to expand and provide all that Meg-A-Latte offers in more communities. That's fabulous. So when do you put in your kids to work?
They already have been.
That's good. Yeah, it's family. It's obvious you're starting as a family business with you and Eddie, of course. So someday there's clearly going to be an opportunity for the kids to do that as well.
Yeah, our oldest, who is 15, this is his first year. We did homeschooling with him, and he had the opportunity to work. My husband's back there standing. You can sit, I'm sure, honey, if you'd like. But he took our son Blake actually along the ride in the last 3 months to help build out the shops, and so he learned a lot with his dad on the sites building out the shops. So anyways, he has already gotten his hands into it.
Well, I love, of course, that you were inspired to open your own business. It seems like you had probably a pretty good gig at Halliburton, but that pull to be your own boss was strong. Talk to me about that transition from the corporate world and when this idea was kind of conceived.
Well, like you said, I went to college and had, a vision of actually moving to like the cities and doing something in fashion and marketing kind of. And then, we decided to start a family, and everything shifts and changes, as you've been away from home for a while. You're like, gosh, I can't imagine like building a family and growing a family without parents and grandparents around the kids. And so we decided to move back to Williston. And once I moved back to Williston, obviously I had a great opportunity to work at Halliburton, worked there, and it was a great job, great company to work for. But I just felt the need for to have like a passion every day to go to work. It's a great job, and was great for our family at the time. But I wanted something exciting for myself every day, and something that I didn't, it's with cliche saying, that didn't feel like work every day. And so coffee came to mind because I love coffee, and was going to one of the local coffee shops in our town, Williston, like 3 times a day. And I was like, this is getting to be a problem. So maybe I should, have my own coffee.
Yeah, a lot of imagine starting a business because you just like something so much. Well, I love coffee and I don't want to pay for it anymore, so I'm just gonna start my own business about it.
Right.
Now, a coffee connoisseur, is that a earned title? What makes you the connoisseur? Do you go out and sample coffees and.
Yeah, I would say so. We love to travel, and when we travel, that is like, everyone in my family knows, like, we're going to a coffee shop. Like, we're probably going to go to several in different cities that we travel to, because I love just looking at, what other business owners do in their spaces, and I love trying, all the options that they have on their menu. And so, yeah, I'm definitely, I would say, a coffee connoisseur, but also just a business connoisseur. Like, I am so intrigued of how other people run their businesses, and, how they do it. So.
Sure. Coffee and bakery is on my checklist anytime I travel to a city. Yeah. I'm going to a coffee shop and bakery, and I recommend everybody else does that too.
Yeah.
Especially if you get anywhere, check out Meg-A-Latte, even outside of Minot. When you were first starting, what resources did you have available to you? Was there anything in the community, and how did you lay out this vision? Because it's one thing, of course, to have the idea, I want to start a coffee shop, but where does that really begin?
Yeah, well, I would say my first instincts was just, I had managed the coffee shop during college, and so just from managing, obviously you have so much more that you need to learn in order to run a business, but it really gave me an insight as to what it kind of took to own a coffee shop, like what equipment I needed and all that stuff. And so that kind of started the process for me, but I reached out to our Williston Economic Development at the time, and still to this day, they're very helpful and very involved in the community. And so I reached out to Keith Olson at the time, and he definitely gave me the steps that I needed there to kind of move forward with getting up and running. So, and it was very quick. I kind of put my business plan together and everything within a month. I quit Halliburton in November, and we opened our shop in February. So.
Wow, that's a fast turnaround.
Yeah,
well, and clearly you had the experience in the background from college. You had been working toward this, and even managing a coffee shop, you had hands-on research already, as you said, what equipment to buy, and things like that. When you began, what did your interview and hiring process look like?
Yeah.
Did you have people in mind? Was there a lot of people excited to come work for Meg-A-Latte?
Yeah, my vision definitely changed quite quickly, because my thought was, I told my husband, I just want to open a coffee shop, and I want to work every day, open to close, and then I come home, and that was my plan. I was like, I'll have like 2 employees, and I'll just be there every day. It's going to be,
simple and easy.
Yeah, it's just the storybook kind of plan to work every day and then go home.
It's so not going to be complicated. It's so not going to be complicated.
Yeah. And so we opened, and I had 1 or 2 employees when we opened, and it was 2012, and the boom was like Williston was just an influx of people, and so we had a line to the door from open to close, and I was like, I can't do this with 3 people. Like,
This is insane.
yeah. I mean, I instantly had to just hire and train. And so within, a couple weeks, I would say a month, I had, 8 employees probably, but that was definitely not on my list to have that many employees out of the gate. And so that process has been a learning process over the years for sure. Like now I have 2 people in HR that I would not have been able to expand without people now in HR, because I mean, just as I grew, I figured out, how difficult it is to do the hiring process and find the good people that will be good for your business. And so that's been a learning process as we've grown.
Yeah, one of the most difficult aspects of opening each new business in this climate must be staffing it and maintaining staff, of course, and you hear about the turnover all the time. How have you evolved as an owner who compensates, pays, offers? What are you doing to stay competitive in this employee market?
It's definitely challenging. I think that, it's so easy for employees to say, well, the grass is always greener. I can get $1.50 more at this, at this other job opportunity. But what we really strive for is letting them know how much of a family-friendly environment that we provide for our employees. We understand the challenges that come with life in general, and we're not that you can just walk over us or anything, but we're very accommodating when it comes to moms with kids and students in school that are also going to school and have activities. Like, we're accommodating to their schedules, and we really want to be workable for everyone. And so I think that we try to, let our employees know that we're very accommodating in that manner. And sometimes that's worth a dollar less that you would get with us versus other places maybe. But also, we have the opportunity to make tips as well. And so we always encourage that, those tips come from, they're not always going to be expected, but it's something that you as an employee at Meg-A-Latte can really work towards your customer service and all those things to make more an hour as well. So there's a lot of things that we kind of throw in there to let them know how many opportunities there are to make good money working for us. So.
Well, yeah, it's quite the growth process to go from thinking, well, I'm going to work for myself with 2 people. Now you have 8 locations. About how many people are you employing at this point?
Yes. Well, in the last 3 months, we've hired 75 to 80 people, which has been insane. My 2 HR ladies are just like, they have been working so diligently, and so thankful for them. But we have over 145 employees, I think.
It's impressive to employ that many people. Did you have an employee handbook when you started? Do you have one now?
Yes. Yes, we did not have an employee handbook.
When did it dawn on you? We better get this handbook out there.
Yeah, honestly, probably 4 years ago. I mean, to be honest.
Like four stores in?
Yeah,
or so?
4 stores in. Then I was like, okay, this might be necessary. Yeah. So that has been obviously something that we've expanded on. And in the last 5 years, adding not just an employee handbook, but a core values and a mission of what we are really all about has been essential, because it's hard to have people follow you and be on board with your vision if you don't have a vision to tell them. And so that's something that has been really eye-opening for me, is really to be open with our employees, letting them know, what are we doing here at Meg-A-Latte? Like, what is our vision? What are our core values? And then we use our core values to, help promote our staff. Like, these are the things we're looking for. And if you have these qualities, that's how, you can really move up with us and become leaders of Meg-A-Latte.
Meg, I think that's really smart. The best brands are founder-led. So you're out there leading by example. I think that's impressive and definitely doing the right things. Backing it up just a little bit, you had all the joy and excitement of store number 1. Of course, it seemingly exploded. Were you as excited? When did it dawn on you, let's do a second store? And how did store number 2 come out? If you wouldn't mind even walking us a little bit through those growth points of each store, and even how it got easier or how it was more challenging the next time around.
Yeah, sure. Well, the original, like I said, was just a pretty small plan. And then with the boom, we had then reached out to actually a church that we were going to, New Hope Church, and they had reached out to us and said, hey, like, we're doing a renovation of our church. Would you ever put your coffee shop in it? And at the time, I was like, that's kind of odd. Like, I don't know if I want my business in a church setting. Like, I didn't know if that jived well, and what would the community think? Like, is that, So I was hesitant, but we definitely thought, let's just try it out. It had started to be a trend at that time of coffee shops being in churches and stuff. It's a good place for people in the congregation to gather and stuff. So we went for it, and that was kind of how the second location evolved, and it was great for us at the time. It was, the boom was really, it was busy, and we needed that second location, and it provided another place for people to meet and do meetings and stuff like that. So it was great. And then the third location kind of came about because, those 2 original locations didn't have drive-throughs. And so we had a lot of people like, when are you going to get a drive-through? Like, we need to we speed this up and we need to, grab and go. And I'm like, okay. So then we started kind of looking for an opportunity in Williston for a drive-through. And so the high school at the time had built on the other side of town, and my husband and I were just out driving one night and saw a whole new building being built with a drive-through opportunity on the building. And so we're like, maybe this is it. So that's kind of the third location. And that was a whole new learning experience because we went from just a sit-down type of business model to with a drive-through, and that really changed.
A whole new layer.
It changed our processes and our flow and so many things that added to the pile of how we run the business. And so, but it expanded our minds and our menu because everyone wanted, when they're coming through a drive-through, they want the food options that they can grab and stuff. So,
can I ask, how did you prepare specifically for the drive-through? Did you have one at the old management, at the old coffee shop you worked at, or
no.
What was it like? All right, we're just throwing us to the wolves. We'll see if it works. Or
that's pretty much it. Yeah. It's like, we can do it. I mean, just add a window. It's fine. And so that's pretty much how we, that's a lot of how my husband and I work is like, we're very positive, we're very motivated, and we're just like, let's just go for it. And then we figure it out after that. So that's kind of.
Here I thought there was some drive-through gauntlet training facility. But.
I mean, I'm sure there is, and we probably could have utilized that, but we didn't. We were just, But yeah, so once we did that, we definitely had a whole another area to learn of how to run things, but it was good for us. After that is kind of when my eyes opened up to the opportunity of having it having Meg-A-Latte maybe in other communities. Because at that time I started really getting processes in place and thought to myself, this is in a way duplicatable if we're very consistent with how we run our shops. And so that's kind of when we started looking into other communities around Williston. And so we had looked at like Sydney and some smaller towns, but was reached out from a realtor for the Watford City location. And so, which happened to be a Taco John's that had went out of business. So we renovated the Taco John's and went into Watford. And then after that, at the time, we were already involved in the North Dakota State Fair. We have a coffee trailer and kind of had a coffee trailer from the start of our business and love doing community events and stuff like that. And so we had been at the State Fair for quite some time already and had a lot of Minot people just asking, hey, when are you going to be in Minot? Like, we only get you once a year at the state fair. Like, and so then our eyes opened to looking at places here in Minot. And
to your point, I remember seeing excitement on my social media channels when your trailer would be at the little events around town, and there was a real buzz, at least through my social channels, when Meg-A-Latte was coming to town. And I remember the excitement when people were like, oh, they're opening, we're getting one. So yeah, that's very real. So once it's essentially you really, after that third store, you had a system. You kind of really had all of the mechanisms that take to drive and build this. The gears were really in place, and you knew how to place them in each new location for the most part at that point, it sounds like.
Yeah. I would say after Watford, that's when we really kind of got our thought process of how we can duplicate it. Harvest Hills is that third location in Williston, we call it. And so that was kind of our feet were getting wet. And then once Watford happened, we definitely found ourselves at that point learning the lessons of what we could do to duplicate it, in other communities and stuff. So yeah, I would still say, though, to this day, I mean, we just opened 3 in 3 months, and each shop is different, like, no matter what. I don't know why. Starbucks, I think, has it down, They definitely do. But I would say for us, like, and I think it's because we really like each shop to be unique in each community, so a little bit different. And so I think because we are open to that, the processes are different at each shop because we have things a little set up differently. And so
is Eddie doing the interior art design in all of them, and is it different at all of these locations then in terms of?
Yeah, so our last 3 are very similar in I had a vision of kind of how I wanted it to look interior design wise, and he did an absolute amazing job with that coming to life. I will be honest, we don't have his art in any of our shops right now because he's been too busy building the locations out. But yeah, I mean,
So you got to go to the OG one to see.
Yeah, and Minot, we have one of his pieces here as well. But yeah, the original locations in Watford City and in Minot have his art, but the new ones don't as of right now.
Opening 3 locations in 3 months, is that what you just said just recently? How do you maintain presence in so many places, and do you see this growing bigger than you can individually be at all your coffee shops?
It's been a challenge and something that I don't necessarily recommend doing 3 in 3 months. I haven't really had my husband in our household with our 4 kids for about 8 months. So October was when he got on the road to start building them out, and probably going to get a little emotional because it's been a really long, 8 months without having him home. But yeah, I don't recommend 3 at once, but and that is, something that we didn't necessarily plan either. It's just the timing of the leases and the construction all just kind of had happened at the same time, even though we planned it months apart. Sure. And so it's just kind of how it happened.
And to be clear, you guys are opening all of these. This is not franchising out or any plans for something like that in the future? For some reason, I've just never loved the word franchise. I really like our business model in that we really want to build up the employees that we have and grow them to leaders to be able to lead their own shop and run their own shop. So that's kind of how we see it still in expanding. Our Fargo location was an employee of mine that had been in Williston and managed, and she wanted to run her own shop. And she's like, I'm thinking about going to Fargo. Like, have any idea to go there? And so that's kind of the vision for us is building up people that are working for us and become leaders of Meg-A-Latte to want to run their own shop. I love that.
Yeah, so that's our business model right now. I don't really like the word franchise. I don't really see that in our future, but yeah. In
terms of selling it, because you have a brand, so a brand opportunity would be, hey, I'm moving to Minneapolis. Do we want a Meg-A-Latte out there? Yeah. So in terms of employees working for you, if you want an opportunity at growth, it's clearly there. And you guys, do you plan on stopping? Is there a number of stores? Like once we get to 11 of these, 11's my lucky number, we're stopping.
I had a crazy number in my mind like 2 years ago, and I just don't think I'm gonna. It was 30 in 10 years, which I think is. I don't know. Why not just go for the moon? But
Eddie's like 30. I can do that in 10 months.
Yeah, I know. But no, there's not a number, and right now, we're taking definite breather of just having a husband back home, and so at this point, if opportunities arise, we're always open to opportunities. That's, I think, maybe a downfall of Eddie and I is we always think, oh, well, maybe we should, we don't relax really. So it's hard for us to say no to an opportunity that sounds, pretty good. So there's no number, and plans for another shop right now, no, but like in the future, yes. It's just when, we don't know.
Push the pause button. Yeah. Enjoy life for a little bit.
We're gonna enjoy the summer.
Right, enjoy the summer. Remember, we want to work to live, not live to work.
Right, exactly.
So I could chat with you for sure for much longer. You have clearly a lot to share, and I wish you continued success, but I'd love to give the audience a chance to ask some questions here while we got you. So who's up? Let's go right back there.
Well, I have two questions. The first question is, have you ever had anybody mention anything to you about the concrete setup in the Minot drive-thru?
Yes, I think we have been maybe twice reached out to about it because it's hard to get turn, right?
Well, I can fix that for you.
Oh. Okay.
All right, we got an entrepreneur in the crowd.
Landlord, if you have one, I think we could get that really.
We're meeting with our landlord after this, so yeah.
My second question is, how do you get from this, just you and one or two employees, to 130?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that just seems impossible, but it's because I don't know the steps. But once you're past the original hump of it, I'm sure that it's just a process like anything else. But I just want to know more about how you it just seems like it wasn't nothing to do that.
It definitely was something. It's just now it didn't happen overnight for sure. It's definitely was a slow process to get to that number, but I would say people that I've put beside me and that have supported me have literally helped that. I have a team of 4 individuals in my office that have been by my side. I have a GM that helps the intricacy of running all the shops, making sure they have all of their needs product-wise and inventory-wise to run, and that their equipment's working. If it's not, they talk to Eddie. So that is just one person that I have in there. I have 2 HR people, and then I have a marketing person that helps. But it's been people that have been by my side, but now have strategic job duties. So it's over the years they were a part of Meg-A-Latte, and they were either managing in some way, shape, or form. But now I've kind of put them into positions where they can really focus on and putting, I guess, the right people in the right place has helped me get to that level and be able to continually grow because I have the right people by my side. But I will say, without a village of the people that I have in management and by my side, kind of I call them my directors, I would not be able to have done anything that I've done so far. So.
Yeah, it's one thing I've considered several times during our conversation, Meg, is how much trust at some point you really had to put in other people to have locations in other cities. You've taken this brand, this baby that you've built, and now, well, man, I gotta 4 hours away. If the ship goes down, I can't be there with it. So being able to have a team, very, very, very important, clearly.
Absolutely,
and having that trust had to have been a little difficult at first, just knowing waiting with bated breath.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not only the trust, but the financial aspect of it.
Yep.
When you start with a plan of, this is my payroll, this is going to be my payroll for 2 or 3 employees, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, if I have a general manager, I got to pay him $80,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I don't know, the scaling to that is what amazes me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been very scary at times, but I will say that, like I said, the people that have been by my side and in my office and have helped me grow through it, I guess they're the right people that I put in my life and been there for me because they've been able to understand the growth process. So they might have started at $15 an hour as a manager. And now because they saw our vision of how we wanted to grow and they were on board to like, you know, start this new job description that I wrote up, and then 6 months later the job description changes again into something else. They wear multiple hats and they've been open to that, and I think that's what's helped as well, because I'm not having to find a general manager that was a general manager for like Wendy's or something and hire them. You know, I've kind of built them within, and I think that that's kind of been my way of doing it rather than having to like outsource and job posts or put a posting out there for $80,000 a year for a GM, like out of the gate, you know. So.
A lot of promoting from within.
Yep.
Who else has questions out there right here?
So how did COVID pose some challenges to you? What did you do to overcome that and not just stay afloat, but continue to expand?
Yeah, it definitely was an interesting time. We were not actually closed, we stayed open, but we had our drive-throughs open. So our sit-downs were closed for some time, but the opportunity that kept us afloat was our drive-throughs, for sure. It's hard to remember. I kind of like try to erase that part of my life. I don't even know, looking back, but I would say the drive-throughs kept us afloat, and then we didn't necessarily, I guess we did expand. We did go to Watford City and open in 2021, which was scary, but we kind of pushed back a little bit and hesitated on that, but due to the COVID timing, but we kind of just, like I said, we don't really say no to things
COVID
that
didn't
we
slow coffee down. I mean, there's ain't nothing stopping coffee.
Yeah, so.
In the back.
So just to give people an idea of like just the cost of starting a business, but like the nucleus, the core of your business, how much does an espresso machine cost?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just one espresso machine is about, $8,000. So it adds up, and my husband has gotten very good and versatile at fixing the espresso machines because there's not a lot of them fixers around.
I know, like, I was wondering, like, do you have a crew that goes around the like, well, or you have people that you know and trust in those towns?
So we're still trying to figure that out, Tim, so if you can help us with that. No, Eddie's our maintenance guy, so he's literally like, now we've opened up on the east side of the state, and, it's already been a challenge to have Eddie FaceTime our, executive shop managers, like, through steps to fix something, because, there isn't a lot of espresso maintenance people around the
Content
state.
idea, start making a YouTube video whenever you fix
That's
something
what we've
on.
gotten
I'm
to.
not joking.
Yep.
There's a how to fix it video for everything on
Yep.
YouTube. I'm a guy who can't fix anything, but I have fixed a dishwasher, almost every appliance in my house, I have fixed thanks to a YouTube video. And so I'm telling you, if there isn't one already, make that YouTube video, how to fix this espresso machine. That's a great idea. Do you have a question right here?
Yes, I do. So you talked about you're kind of building from within, and then you talked about the gal that was going to move to Fargo. So then, are there ownership opportunities when that happens as well, when someone goes and starts kind of a new shop?
Yeah, so I had kind of laid out like an ownership type of a program for an employee that would want to do that. We haven't done that yet because they haven't really been in the financial capabilities to do so yet for the ones that we have open. But I think that's definitely something that we still have on open mind to for sure, is if one of our employees is like, hey, I want to open a shop in South Dakota, like I would love to have some ownership in it, we would be open to that for sure. It's just not something we've done yet. Yeah.
And then follow-up question. Obviously, you and your leadership team can't be in all of these places at one time, right? And I think your vision, your mission, your values, all that stuff that you talked about. How do you, when you have these multiple locations, especially across the state, How do you keep that part consistent? Because I'm sure processes can change a little bit, but that has to be very
Yeah.
consistent across the board.
Of course, that was definitely one thing that I had on my notes, was that has been something that has been so close to my heart that I want to make sure is consistent, is the values and our culture. Because it's really hard to expand and us not be there, like you said, or your leaders not there, ensuring that that is followed through at your other locations. So what we've done, and this was kind of just made in the process and figured it out as we opened these last 3, but I put traveling training managers in place from Williston that have traveled, literally given up their last 4 months of their life to be on the road, but they have been in charge of doing all the training at the new shops, and instilling those values and the culture at the new shops. And so that's what we did with these last 3. And then I hold leadership meetings monthly with our leaders. So any managers, anyone that is above just a barista level, we have leadership meetings, and so monthly that I do. And so they, at that point, I really want to instill the leadership and the values and the culture at that point during the meetings. We do a lot of FaceTime stuff, which is new to me because I'm so used to having meetings face-to-face in a room with people. But now, because we have multiple locations, we have to just do everything on Zoom. And so it's a new way of, for me anyways, to create the connection and make sure that, everything is consistent across the board. But it's definitely a challenge that we're still,
How often do
trying
you
to figure out.
expect to be at those other shops?
Yeah, my hope is to do like the loop once a month. I hope to do that, but my GM is for sure doing the loop twice, like once to twice a month. And then, so far, it's only been like a week and 2 weeks since we opened Grand Forks, but Eddie has been already on the road to their shops already once. So I don't know. So far, I don't have the exact answer, but the hope is once a month. Yeah.
And I want to ask too, because I know at least 3 people who have talked about opening a coffee shop. When you initially started, can you share what were the key startup costs and what did you know, this is what I have? So I'd be curious to know a little bit more about startup cost at store 1, me plus 2 employees, startup cost at store 8.
So different. I would say startup cost store 1 was less than $50,000.
Okay.
And store 8 now is 200 plus for sure.
Okay, so just again, that scale, I think important to illustrate. Again, I know a few people that, and is there a first, second, third step you might recommend to somebody who wanted to start their own small coffee shop?
First, second, third. Have your vision of really what you want your menu to look like, what you want your culture to be, what you want the community to see your brand like, and then after that, I guess I would say be consistent with it. So if you're all over the board, let's say you've decided on a menu, but then month 2 you decided you're going to add hot dogs and like something else. Like I think that's really tough for the community to wrap their head around. And so if you're consistent in what you offer, it's a brand that can then be a brand and branded for people to resonate with. But if you're kind of all over the board and trying all the things, it gets really confusing to the customer to understand you.
And also, let's be real, if you want hot dogs with your coffee, you need therapy.
You won't be coming to Meg-A-Latte for that because I won't have hot dogs. But.
Probably take 1 or 2 more questions from the audience if anybody has one. We'll go right back here.
Hi, sorry, I came in late, but how do you go about managing like your recipes secret from staff? And my other question was, how do you guys consider the location when you expand?
Yeah. Okay. So your first question was how to the recipes. So that's something that I guess I would say back in the day I was like so sacred, right? I was like, no, I'm not going to tell you like exactly our recipe for this, this, and this.
She learned that from Colonel Sanders.
But then, I think just now where we're at, this day and age, everybody really wants to know what's in things, and for health reasons and all the things, and so we can't really not disclose that. We disclose what's in everything. As far as the exact measurements, we don't, because at that point, then it gets kind of over top of what they're really asking for, and so we don't. It's like we can tell you what's in it for sure. No. Of course, but as far as how much of each item, we don't, because that's something that is sacred to us. So that's kind of how we go about that. And then as far as how we determine locations, that is something that we really try to be smart about, because you always hear location, 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 and it's really something that you do need to consider, because if you as a consumer can't see it, you just blaze through it and you haven't seen it, that's one eye-opening moment for you, that's how they're going to see your business as well. So make it visual, make sure that they're able to see it. High traffic areas obviously is kind of key. If you do want to open a shop or a business off the beaten path, it's just all about really marketing and word of mouth and making sure that people know you're there if you are off the beaten path. And how to do that is obviously engage in your community and reach out to as many other businesses surrounding your business to get the word out that you are in maybe an off beaten path location.
We had one more over here.
Was there kind of a tipping point when it came to your brand? Like, I've had the Meg-A-Latte here, I've had it out in Walker City, and it's, you get the same thing, it tastes the same, like you said, the consistency. So was it kind of, when you were looking at expanding, further east, was it, like up here you said you were at the state fair and everyone was kind of clamoring for it, so it kind of made sense here, but was that necessarily the case with the Fargo and Grand Forks, or was that more so like, our brand is so well known that we can
Yes.
infiltrate those cities?
I would say it was more so, I felt like our brand is getting known, and so I think we can succeed if we do expand to the other side of the state. But also, like I said, we like to travel, and so every time we travel, it was so hard for me I love checking out, like I said, other local businesses and shops like that, but it is hard to go to Fargo and be like, I really wish my coffee was here. Like I would like to, have the opportunity to have a Meg-A-Latte right now. And so I think that was kind of our thought is, we should try and expand to the east side, even though we might not have those close ties like we do on this side of the state. But brand awareness, I think, had a lot to do with our hopes that it would do well on the east side of the state. Yeah. And I mean, I went to college in Fargo, so I was like, of course people are gonna come know. But
Well, I think it's a very wonderful story, and congratulations on your success. And I want to highlight again, this is one of the finest examples we've probably had at Startup Minot of a founder-led business that started from nothing. So a lot that you guys can glean from this today. So be sure to share this. It's going to be on social media. I think it's worthy of your time to share it with others. Anybody else who is looking for some inspiration, looking for some answers. Meg certainly has them, and you certainly seem open and accessible. Maybe even somebody you could call up and say, hey, I'm looking to do this. And you said you kind of talk to other people and you learn from a lot of other people. So let's give it up for Meg. Thanks for being here with us. And again, folks, Startup Minot, the second Thursday of every month, we're sharing entrepreneur stories. So be a friend, tell a friend, and totally a non-shameless self-plug. Come see Midwest Murder live at Oak Park Theater on the 29th of this month. It's our first show home in like 4 months. So we'd love to see you guys there. See you next time.
thank you, guys.